Okay, so I'm going to go into something that I discovered a long time ago, and I was not a big fan of.
Okay.
And I've got my car comparison.
Okay.
So we'll start with you first, and we'll see if kind of I fall in line with what your sentiment is.
Yeah.
So there's this thing called the Orphan Barrel, which I'm sure you've known.
Sure.
All of the whiskeys in that Orphan Barrel I've tried.
Right.
Was not impressed by any of them.
No, they're not good. It's weird. In the cigar world, this happens a lot. Like, oh, found it in the back of the shop, and they just make up a label for it.
Sure.
And what's nice about those are often pretty good. Not always, but those are often pretty good. Orphan Barrel is the same thing, and the idea is like, oh, we just found this barrel. And really, I believe they're actually all blends. They're actually not single barrels, so it should be Orphan Barrels.
Ouch.
And they're never that good. They're just never. They have great artwork and the packaging and the marketing behind it and the story. And that's the other thing too. You realize when you really get into bourbon, like 100% of what you hear is bullshit. Right? There are literally 7 frickin' distilleries that make all the whiskey you've ever consumed in your life.
Right.
That's it. And everything else is marketing. It's a story.
Sure.
Like my favorite is that Templeton's Rye made from Al Capone's secret recipe in Chicago. Well, it's actually made in Indiana. And no, it's just the rye recipe that this major industrial distiller, MGP, it's their rye thing. And there's a certain set of barrels that have a certain flavor profile. Nothing to do with Al Capone. Nothing to do with Chicago. It's just bullshit. But
it's the label, though. The label. It shows.
So Orphan Barrel falls into that, where it's like very seductive. Yeah. And I understand why you would like, ooh, look at that. Orphan.
Oh, yeah. And the price, too. I mean, they're not cheap.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, too. You tend to pay for good bourbon. I get asked all the time, what's the best bourbon for under $50? I'm like, really aren't any, you know?
Yeah.
So there's a couple, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So with the Orphan Barrel, we'll just put it all in kind of one bucket because taste-wise, they were all different, but they were all kind of sort of the same thing. They were a little too overpowering and not in a really good way.
Ford Mustang.
Okay. Ford Mustang GT?
Well, I would say, so for me, of the current Mustangs,
okay,
the only one that I dream about is the Shelby R. So I'm sure there might be, I'm not sure, but let's assume there's one Orphan Barrel that actually is really good.
Okay.
Somebody probably drank it.
All right.
All the rest just aren't as good as they should be, as good as the marketing and the hype would lead you to believe. Even the sales numbers would lead you to believe they're really good, but they're just not. This, hopefully they'll get better, but the independent rear end on the Mustang is just not. It hasn't translated well. And the last gen, the Bullet was amazing. Then they made the Boss 302, which was like, if you discount that Shelby R, that was maybe the best Mustang ever made.
Really?
Oh, so good. The Boss 302, especially the Laguna Seca package, was like, that was a special car.
Was that a solid rear axle car?
Yeah,
it was. Wow.
But people get confused. Like, what's wrong with a solid rear axle? Nothing, especially on a track, because tracks tend to be pretty damn smooth. You know? So there's no potholes on a track.
Right.
And then for putting power down, it's like a 911. People are like, oh, it's rear engine. It's got all these disadvantages. Okay. But a rear engine car has a lot of advantages too.
Yeah.
On a solid axle car, okay, there's some disadvantages, but there's a lot of advantages to having both wheels in contact with the ground,
Right. At the same time.
Yeah. And not having to, anyways, I don't want to get into suspension geometry because I don't even understand it, but that was a wonderful car. But anyways, the current gen, the independent rear Mustangs, they're just not as good. First of all, direct competition to Camaro, across the board better. 4-cylinder Mustang, 4-cylinder Camaro, 4-cylinder's better. When there used to be a V6 Mustang, the V6 Camaro's better, especially the 1LE version. Regular V8 Camaro versus Mustang GT, no comparison. SS1LE versus Performance Pack 1 or 2, no comparison. New Bullet, not good. We tested it. It's actually literally slower in a straight line than the regular GT, which makes 20 less horsepower.
Well, okay, that's interesting.
And then all the way up to the GT350, great motor, average car. It's only when you get the R with those carbon wheels, and I think they blueprint the chassis. They do something to that car.
Right.
The car is touched in a way that other Mustangs are not touched when they leave the factory. That car's brilliant. That's about as good as cars get. But every other one's kind of disappointing, and I think Orphan Barrel is kind of disappointing.
Got it. Okay, so you mentioned Camaro.
Yeah.
I drove an SS1LE.
Yeah, and
one of the best cars I've ever driven.
it's hard to explain to people that I'm not paid by Chevy. I'm not being hyperbolic. Yep. If you're into performance, I don't care if you don't think you can see out of it or you don't like the way the plastic looks on the door.
Just look straight.
It's one of the best driving cars in the world, period.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I only drove it like 2 miles.
Yeah.
And that was enough.
Yep.
Yeah. Gearbox.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yep.
Clutch.
Yep.
I
Good
wouldn't
enough.
say excellent. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Kind of light.
Good
Not
enough.
a lot of feel.
Good enough.
Pretty good. Engine. I mean, come on.
Engine's great, but I would even say the Mustang GT has a better engine, but that chassis is
perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the best chassis that I've ever been in. And that for me, that's the primary focus when it comes to cars.
I agree.
Chassis.
I agree. 100%.
Like I have the new SI. And it's funny because I was going through and I don't want to go like too far into what I was doing because I want to make this all about you and the whiskey stuff.
Sure.
I was looking for a car recently.
Right.
And I was looking at Julia's. I was looking, well, I couldn't get my hands on one because they haven't gotten here yet. The G70, the 6-speed though.
Oh, yeah.
I took a look at the Stinger, and let's see what else. I think that was pretty much it.
Okay.
And I had an SI prior. I sold it.
Right.
I got another SI.
That's okay.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. The chassis is great. It does everything that I want it to do for half the money that I was going to spend on the other cars.
So let me ask, why not a Type R?
Too much goddamn money, and I don't feel like paying $10,000 over sticker.
Are they still 10 over?
Still 10 over. The dealership that I went to, which is Thousand Oaks.
Call me. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm from
it's too
Thousand
late.
Oaks. Yeah, next time,
late.
call me. And buy a car, call me. Because I can't remember the dealer, but a lot of my friends are like, I want a Type R. And so I called Honda and said, do you have a dealer that's not doing that?
Yeah.
They go, yeah, we have one.
If he wants to buy me out of this this car and get me into a Type R.
I think it's the guy near Torrance. That's where their headquarters is.
I'm okay with driving down to Torrance.
Yeah.
We'll talk off the microphone.
Yeah, because I think when the lease on my All-Road is up, I think Type R is my next purchase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that used to
but
have...
I'm not paying 10 grand over or 15 over.
$46,000 for a Honda Civic.
You know, when you put it like that, though, that is a hell of a deal. Well, so wait, hang on a second.
$46,000.
Dude, that Type R is so good. It is such a good car.
Okay.
It's one of those shattering... like we were talking about with the Alpine, it's just like you cannot believe a car is that good. And they do so many smart things, right? Mm-hmm. So you get into almost any car in the world that has modes. In other words, there's a comfort mode and a sport mode and a sport plus. You turn the car on and you're in comfort. Mm-hmm. Well, this is a Type R with a wing that's so tall you can't see it in the rearview mirror.
Right.
So when you get in the car and turn it on, it's in sport mode. It defaults to sport mode. Smart little thing, smart thing.
Sure.
Manual only, right? Okay. I bet you've used cruise control in your life. You're cruising along in 6th gear, and then suddenly you start to go up a hill, and you have the cruise control on, and the engine starts stumbling because you need to be in 5th.
Sure.
And you shift from 6th to 5th, and it cancels the cruise control the second you touch the pedals.
Yep.
Not on the Type R. You can change gears, and the cruise control stays on. So in other words, people that drive cars, designed it. You know, and it's a British car. It's like totally done in Swindon or whatever, and it's brilliant. It's just a brilliant car. And again. And people always ask, you have a Fiesta ST. Why did you do that? I'm like, well, because in 2014, I drove every car that was on sale that year. And my favorite was a Pagani Huayra. My second favorite was an AMG 6x6. And my third favorite was the one that was $23,000 and I bought it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how I feel about the Type R. It's like, it's too good not to buy. If the Camaro, you could get a car seat in the back of the SS1LE though, I'd probably buy that. But for my family, I need to have a second car that has a back seat.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Makes sense.
Now, why didn't you buy the SS1LE?
Okay, good question. Again, 40-something thousand.
Yeah, they're about 46, 47. Yeah.
And I don't know. The V8, one of the biggest things that upsets me is gas mileage.
Oh, yeah. It's not good.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things. So you get on a Camaro forum, like, man, I get 35 miles a gallon. Well, yeah, if you try to, but if you drive it like you're supposed to drive it, you get 0. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, I would say next time you lease a car, if they're still making it, Type R.
Oh, I think they're still going to make it in 3 years.
I don't know. Brexit. I think I actually heard they actually fired everyone from there.
Okay.
And that the next Type R is going to be a hybrid or something.
All right. Well, I'm going to go buy one then. That will probably be a car that will appreciate.
Yeah, they're so good. They do so many smart things. I'm not even talking about like the world-beating performance. Like last year, we did best driver's car, right? Mm-hmm. First place car was the Lamborghini Huracan Performante. Second place car, Porsche GT2 RS. And so that means that the former Nürburgring record holder was beaten by the then current Nürburgring record holder. Third place, McLaren 720S. Fourth place, Honda Civic Type R.
Yeah, that's insane.
No, it's that good.
Yeah.
It's that good. It really is that good.
You know what my problem is I couldn't drive one, and I think that maybe...
they wouldn't let you drive one?
They wouldn't.
Dealers are so dumb.
They would not let me drive one.
Here, you know what you would... Here's the other thing. Another one of those smart things I was talking about. The bolstering on the seats in that car, it touches your ribs. You've never been in like better bolstered seats. They feel like racing seats, yet you can jump in and out of them. It's a miracle. I don't know how they did that. It's literally a miracle. But like I drove here in that GT3 Touring, which I love the seats, but my God, I feel like an old man getting in and out because it's so hard to do. Somehow Honda, who for the last 20 years switched from an engineering to an ergonomics company, they figured these friggin' seats out. Yeah. It's a miracle.
Yeah.
It's that car is so great. Like I said, I think I'm going to buy one.
Okay.
I have 8 months, what's today, March? 9 months left in the lease, but I think it's a Type R.
Let's go back to the whiskey stuff because I wanted to ask you. So you said Mustang.
Yeah.
But what about the converse of that? Or the opposite of that? The Camaro.
Yeah.
What kind of whiskey can we pair with
That's a great question. I would say, give me a second here. Boy, I'm just trying to think here. So it's a good value. No one believes how good it is. So I'm going to say the Old Forester, which is on the list, but Old Foresters, and Old Forester, there is an Old Forester, but there's also they do like an Old Forester 1920, which that's the SS1LE. It's just like for $56, you're not going to find a better bourbon on earth. Old Forester 1920. I'm blanking on all the names. I feel like there's like a 1910, and there's like a Prohibition style. Prohibition
there's
era.
a bunch of them, I think. Yeah.
And so those are the various other Camaros, but it's like Old Forester, just the standard stuff was like bottom shelf swill. But then they started doing, these other, I don't know what you want to call them, iterations of Old Forester, other expressions. And they're actually really good. And no one's going to believe you because they associate it with like on their 21st birthday, randomly picking a whiskey and getting violently drunk from it. So I would say Old Forester. There's a couple others like Four Roses barrel picks maybe, but there's so many of those that it couldn't be a Camaro. But I would say like Old Forester and the 1920 being the SS1LE.
Got it.
Yeah.
Have you been to Old Forester lately?
No.
Okay, you should go. They have that giant still that's 4 stories high.
Yeah,
and the tour's really great.
That's the one in Louisville.
Yeah.
It's sad. I've been to Louisville a bunch. I love it. And if I had to live somewhere else, I'd probably live in Louisville, but I've never gone to any of the distilleries that are downtown. I always just head out to like Bardstown to go to the big ones. But I know that there's all kinds of, and it's changing like crazy. Every time you're there, it's under construction and everyone's going in. So I should, next time I go out there, I was supposed to go next 2 weeks from now, but it got all messed up.
Yeah, I agreed on the it's changing part because I've been told that it's changing when I was there.
I've been there, since I got into bourbon, I go frequently. Not frequently. I go as frequently as I can. And it's just crazy the amount of construction right on the main drag there. It's just like nuts. Also, it's cool, like the Louisville Slugger factories there. It's just a neat town, riverfront, and I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah. How do you get there? Do you fly into Cincy and then you drive, or do you?
Last time I went, boy, you would ask that. I flew into Atlanta.
Really?
And
okay.
then,
And you drove from Atlanta too?
No. Then I flew Atlanta to Louisville.
Okay.
Connecting flight.
Yeah, that was a little annoying, not having a direct flight to Louisville.
Well, if you fly Delta, there's no direct flight. There's one of them, like United or something, or American, or somebody goes direct.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not as easy as it should be to get to.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
you can also fly to Nashville and drive up. It's not that far.
What's like 2-3 hours maybe?
Yeah. More? Plus you pass the Corvette Museum.
The one with the sinkhole?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we should have done that. That would have been cool.
Sinkhole's awesome.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, that's our next trip.
Okay.
All right. So let's do, I'm going to pick this one strictly because the name is hilarious.
Okay.
Clarence the Brown Pig.
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about that one.
Okay. What that is, there's a company in Vermont called Whistle Pig. And they, I won't say they bottle some of the best rye. All they do is rye. They bottle some of the very best rye on earth. Now, they confuse a lot of people because they make their farm stock, which they might actually distill that at the farm. It's an old farm in Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
Then they make their 10-year, which is all, from what I understand, Canadian rye, sourced from Canada, because Vermont is right next to Quebec. Then they do like a 12-year, but it's cask finish. So they're like, oh, we're going to finish it in a port barrel or whatever. So I don't think there are any. I don't think you can ever take a bourbon and improve it by finishing it in some other type of barrel.
Mm-hmm.
It's a marketing scam. They never taste good. I've heard there's a company in Tennessee called Barrel, and they spell it wrong. There's 2 L's on barrel.
Okay.
I've heard from a guy I trust that they do make a barrel finished whiskey that's good. I don't believe it, but I've heard that. And then they do a 15-year. Yeah, they do a 15-year, and then they do something called Boss Hog. So Boss Hog has a big pig on it, and it's like $500 a bottle. And I actually gave a bottle. I did not pay $500 for it. Didn't pay anything for it. Don't ask. To Farrah for his birthday. I hope you still have some because I didn't even get a chance. But they've released 5 of these Boss Hogs.
Okay.
Anyhow, the 10 years are the best stuff. Turns out the barrel picks. They make a 10-year that's just 100 proof. But then they also make the barrel picks, which are, again, barrel strength. And they're 10 years old, so they're all around 115 to 120 proof, right? So when people pick them, they get to name whatever they want. Usually it's like K&L Liquor Pick or whatever, K&L Wines and Spirit Pick, right?
Okay.
So this guy, I think this is right, but this guy Prov, I think he's out of Seattle, could be wrong. He's a great barrel picker. Anyways, picked this one, and to make fun of Boss Hog, they called it the Brown Prince, and it's Clarence the Brown Prince. I guess it's some pig. I could have that story totally wrong. Anyhow, it's awesome. It's a good one. Not the best ever. The best ever is that Astor.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about them before. The Astor pick of the Whistle Pig 10-year. I remember it was like I bought 7 bottles, and I like 3 were for one friend and 1 was for another friend, and the one friend who got 3 drank them all and was like, dude, I'll pay you like crazy money for the rest of them, and blah, 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 blah. It's ridiculously good. And this is a guy who is able to afford stuff like Black Ink, which is a $9,000 bottle, so he's used to drinking the best of the best of the best. And he was saying that. Now, this Clarence the Brown Pig is like a couple notches down from that, but it's exquisite. It's really, really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So what's the car equivalent?
C63 Black Series.
Okay.
Here's my thinking.
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay. AMG is not known for making driver's cars, right? They're known for making gigantic hammer type vehicles.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Although I would argue that the GTS and the GTC and the GTR, incredible driver's cars. But put those out of your mind for a second because they don't look like AMGs. So the greatest AMG really of all time is the SLS Black Series.
Okay.
That's just a car that, man, like, was it freaking good? And no one understood how good it was at the time because no one knew that was the very last iteration of the 6.2 liter V8 engine from Mercedes. Mm-hmm. And everything now is going to be turbocharged after that. What a special car. So that's like that Astor Pick Whistle Pig 10-year. Okay. Now, same guys, same following the same philosophy, blah, blah, blah. They made the C63 Black Series. Same engine, but a slightly different iteration of it. Like that was a 510 horsepower motor, whereas the intakes on the SLS Black Series made it same engine, but it made it 563 horsepower. Plus, it's a front mid-engine car, and it's got gull wings, and it just screams and does all this dual clutch. So that's why that Black Series is like really freaking good. Mm-hmm. Not quite the best, but right there.
Got it.
Couple steps down, but exquisite.
That was a coupe, right? They never made the sedan.
The Black Series was coupe only. Now they made the 507, which made 3 less horsepower. Didn't have the aero like that. The Black Series actually had like flicks and a crazy wing and da-da. 507 had, if I remember correctly, that was the M159 motor. Mm-hmm. So there was the M156 was a standard C63 motor, 6.2 liter, and then there was the M158, the M159. So I think the maybe the M15. Oh, boy. Because then there was the M152, which was a 5.5 liter with the turbos ripped off of it, I think. Anyways, the 507 was like the Black Series motor down to 3 horsepower.
Okay.
Yeah, and it didn't. The suspension was a little different. Didn't have the aero, but the 507 was great, and that they made coupe or 4-door and wagon, which I drove in Europe, but they didn't sell it here.
Okay, so follow-up question to the Black Series.
Yeah.
Because from what I've read and what I've seen, the Black Series is a punishing car. It's a very stiff suspension. And it's
which
like
one?
you said. I think all of them really. For the most part,
No.
Really?
The only one which you might, I would say, which you might be the SL65 Black was brutal. Brutal for a lot of reasons. The biggest one being that they put a hard top on it. So you have a car that was always a convertible, and then you stiffen it like crazy with a hard top.
Oh, okay.
And it had a stiff ride. But no, I would not say any of them were punishing except for that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that aside, I mean, to me, AMGs were always these like really terrifying cars because of this whole sledgehammer approach, right? It's brute power, brute noise, brute everything.
Yeah.
So is there any kind of bruteness that's associated with Clarence the Pig? Maybe like the proof?
No. And that's why I'm saying the Black Series. No, the proof on that is 116 or something.
All right.
No, I'm just saying the Black Series were the driver's cars. And that was
so the balancing out of everything.
Yeah.
Brute power plus you can actually go around a corner.
Yeah, but remember too, we're in an era now where like 700 horsepower cars are common, and that was, you're talking about a 510, and really it's probably a 502 horsepower car because it's probably in PS, that weird German metric horsepower thing. So 500 horsepower used to be a lot. Sure ain't a lot now. Not. But the Black Series was great. Actually, my favorite story. So Tobias Moore, who's the CEO of AMG, back when he was just the chief engineer of AMG, he came to our office. First time I met him, first time I hung out with him. I'd met him a few times, but anyways. And we're talking this, that, and I go, hey, hand him a magazine. I'm like, congratulations, you got second place at best driver's car with the C63 Black Series. And he looks at me very angry. Who got first? I was like, the new 991. It was when the 911, the 991 had just come out, and he was like, oh yeah, Val, that's a very good car. So
it's very German of him.
Yeah. But he was honest, which I always admired that about him. He was very like, a lot of guys that become CEO, they're very good at PR. He's not. He just talks, and then the PR is like kind of wring their hands, like, oh boy, he said too much.
Yeah.
So
I guess it's where he came from, right? Is not to have to worry about all that garbage.
And he's just like, he's one of those awesome CEOs who's super hands-on. Like when we got the first time we got the GTS, the AMG GTS for best driver's car, I was told they had 12 of them in Spain, and he personally drove every single one to pick which one he was going to give Motor Trend to make sure it was the best one.
Okay.
And it was a yellow one that actually won best driver's car that year.
Okay.
Yeah. So he cares,
Well, that's important.
Yeah,
people care.
It is. You wouldn't believe how many people don't care.
No, I can believe
and
it.
who can't drive. There's a lot of car executives who wouldn't be able to tell you which is the best one. He's the guy. He actually thought up Black Series. That was Tobias.
Oh, okay.
He did the first one was the CLK Black, and that was him. That's kind of how he kind of made his bones when he was at AMG. I shouldn't say that. He was a good engineer, but he rose through the ranks, and he's a great guy.
Speaking of guys that can't drive and car companies that can't, I mean, they really don't care. It almost seems like they really don't care.
Don't get me in trouble.
Well, no, I won't. I'll try not to. But you threw some stuff out there, like when I was writing some stuff down in terms of like mediocrity and just low end stuff. Like Evan Williams comes to mind.
Yeah.
But also you kind of threw in Maker's Mark, which I think is a fine whiskey.
No, it's really not good.
Okay.
Yeah,
so explain, and then also let's find a pick.
It just doesn't taste good. I just think I could give you like, it's supposed to be this premium bourbon. I can give you like a glass of Blanton's, which is
pretty good.
Maybe $10 more a bottle.
Yeah. Blanton's is pretty good though.
I love Blanton's. Yeah. But I could give you, to me, like if you just drink like straight, I don't know, like Buffalo Trace, which is like a $29 bourbon, and Maker's Mark, which is probably about $29 a fifth, depending on where you get. I don't know the exact prices, but I think you would find that the Buffalo Trace was a little bit better. And then there's stuff like Knob Creek, which is better. I just don't think Maker's Mark tastes good. Now, they have glorious marketing. They actually, you want to hear something funny? So they have a wax top with drips. So if you look at a bottle of Maker's Mark, the wax drips down the bottle. They copyrighted that. So you can find other bourbons that have a wax top.
Okay.
But they cut the drips off.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. And Maker's Mark like patented that, which is like really annoying because it's like an extra step to do that and then cut them off. But great marketing. Now, the other thing that's annoying about Maker's Mark is they do barrel proof bottlings, right? And they're delicious. It's just when they water it down. It used to be Maker's Mark. I don't know if I have this correct. They used to be 86 proof. And then they changed it to 80 proof because they claim they're having a hard time keeping up with demand, blah, 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 blah. They just wanted to sell more. But, and a lot of people are like, oh, the 86 proof tasted better. But I found a bottle of the 86 proof. It doesn't taste any better than the 80 proof. But the stuff that's like, excuse me, stuff that's like 110, 115 proof is delicious. It's just when they water it down, it fucks it up.
Okay, so watering down.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me.
Well, that's anything that's barreled at a specific proof. In other words, here's a great one. Old Weller Antique 107. What's that 107 stand for? Watered down to 107. Now, 107 is one of those kind of historic proofs. For whatever reason, back in the day, you would always water down. No one ever. The only time you'd ever have barrel proof whiskey was like Christmas is coming up, and you're the distiller, or Hanukkah, because actually, talking to you, there's a lot of Jews involved, in the bourbon business. Even though they named their product Elijah Craig, after the preacher, Heaven Hill is owned by like the Shapiro family. Always has been. Anyways. But so you'd give out a special gift, right? So this is the barrel proof uncut stuff. And then somebody figured out Booker's like, hey, we could bottle this and sell it. And Booker's is a Jim Beam product actually. And so they started selling the barrel proof stuff. Anyways. So, but 107, you'd water, the 107 would cost a little more than the stuff watered down to 90 because it's less water, more whiskey. So, when you add water to something, you reduce flavor. So you always hear, and the Scotch industry is like, they should all be like fined for this, but a drop of water will open up the flavor. It's like, no, it's like too strong for you to handle. Water it down. Water does not open flavor. Water waters it down. Could you imagine like a chef like, yeah, add some water to your chicken. It'll taste better. Like, no, you're reducing flavor. People can't take the flavor.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's one of the big, and they just want more people to drink it. They're like, anything to make you want ice cubes? Put in ice cubes. You want water? Mix it with this.
Okay.
So I'm very orthodox when it comes to like, if it's barrel proof, if it's already watered down, do whatever you want. I don't care. Mix it with Diet Coke. Go nuts. But if you're getting a barrel proof and it's a single barrel, that means there's like, again, less than 200 bottles on the frickin' planet. Don't add water.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
That's rant over. Yeah. It's just stupid. It's like you have like one of the greatest luxury goods in the world and you're going to dilute it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay.
I completely understand your argument, though.
Okay, thank you.
Now, when it comes to car companies that have watered it down.
Oh, that's a good one. Boy.
Because I can name one specifically that has this image, but they're just not sporty.
I would say, okay, who do you say?
Lexus.
I will disagree with that, but I would say either BMW or Infiniti came from a great place and watered down. Lexus never was sporty, and now they're making sportier cars than they've ever made.
Okay, I agree with you. Yeah, that they never really watered it down.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. All right, so let's go back to BMW and Infiniti, because I agree with BMW.
Yeah.
Infiniti, I haven't tried the new stuff, and the old stuff was pretty good.
Yeah, there was a time, like 2006,
7?
2 to 7, when you could realistically, no irony, no joke, say a G35 was better than a 3 Series. You could absolutely make that argument. And it was like, that was a logical, reasonable statement to make.
Yeah, it was a great car. Still is.
Well, now though, the G35. But now if you said the Q50 is better than a 3 Series, it's not. And it's, and the 3 Series isn't even as good as the old 3 Series, comparatively speaking. So they, for whatever reason, Infiniti kind of shot themselves in the foot a couple different ways. One way was that the drive-by steering what it did was all the really good steering people, whoever they are, got stuck on that project, which is kind of hopeless because it's never gonna be good. Fine for autonomous cars, but for holding a steering wheel in your hand, not having a steering column will never feel as good as electric. It just won't.
Yeah, and the claim that they're actually sporty cars. I mean, that's Infinity's shtick, right?
Yeah. And especially the first iterations of those were kind of disastrous. They were really bad. But anyway, so that meant that the people left to engineer steering, the car got worse and worse and worse. And then, they kind of like, they had the VQ engine. And at the time, their 7-speed automatic was good and they had a manual. And then 10 years later, boy, that 7-speed is the same one. Yeah, it's really not that good. Boy, that VQ engine is a dated dog.
Yeah.
And now they have the new 3-liter twin turbo V6, which is okay, but it's also you're the same company that makes that GTR motor, right? How about some of that pizzazz?
Right. How about a dual clutch?
Yeah. And then instead, what they're doing is they're going with slush, not even slush, but with CVTs.
Oh, God.
So the QX60, which is the Mall Finder, Nissan Pathfinder. By the way, Mike Febo used to work at Motor Trend, came up with Mall Finder to describe the Pathfinder. It's the funniest thing ever. So the QX60 has a CVT. Okay. That sucks. And then the new QX50, which is a great looking car with one of the coolest engines in the world, that what do they call it? Variable compression motor.
Yeah.
Well, it's hooked up, sadly, to a CVT, which sucks. And I've talked to an Infinity engineer, and I was like, so let me get this straight. If you have a continuously variable engine, meaning that the displacement literally changes based on the needs and demands of the engine, wouldn't it be better to have it hooked to a fixed gear rather than a continuously variable gear? He's
right.
Like, oh, yeah. Totally.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
It would be a lot better.
Now that I hear it out loud. I'm
like,
oh, wait, that totally would.
And he said that, look, he's like, this VC technology is eventually going to trickle down to other Nissan Infinity products. Not all of them. Long story short, kids, if you're listening at home, Nissans have a CVT when it's a transverse motor, meaning that the crankshaft faces sideways, and they have a regular automatic when it's a longitudinal motor, the crankshaft faces north-south. So all sideways engines, which is most of Nissan products, get CVTs, which is a shame because everyone hates CVTs, rightfully so. Unless you have a monstrous torquey engine, I mean a lot of torque, like the old Lexus. God, what was it called? It was the 600 hybrid, the LS600H.
LS600H,
yeah. That thing had a CVT. Didn't matter because there was so much sound deadening, couldn't hear it or feel it, and it had all that extra torque from the hybrid motor. So it didn't. You never got the.
That's the worst part. That's
horrible.
The absolute worst part. Is having the rev hang itself is just it's broken.
Yeah,
that's what you think. It's broken.
It always, and so in a premium product, it never works unless you do what Infinity did.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, what Lexus did.
Lexus,
yeah. Anyway, so that's the problem, is that this QX50, which is really has some good strong points. I think it's incredibly good looking, especially for the segment, and I think that engine is brilliant. But man, is it let down by that transmission? Just but they don't have a transverse automatic. They're all CVT. They made the decision.
Yeah, I suppose that makes some sense to them.
Well, it's a lot cheaper to build one transmission than two. Well, I should say it's a lot cheaper to R&D design build one transmission than to R&D design build two.
But it's also a lot more expensive to lose customers, loyal customers, and then have to get them back eventually.
Look, that's the bigger story here, is that these Infinity and Acura and Lexus, right? Why do they exist? In other words, did the Japanese car companies feel this burning need to create luxury brands, or did they have a gun to their head? They had a gun to their head.
Sure.
Late 70s, early 80s, bad time for American domestic car makers. Malaise era, oil embargo. American companies they still haven't figured out how to make good small cars profitable.
Yeah.
Japanese were good at that.
Yeah.
81, Reagan administration, one of the first things they did was they passed what's called the voluntary. I wish I could Google it right now. Anyways, it was a voluntary thing where the Japanese companies would volunteer with a gun to their head to only sell X amount of cars a year. I think it was like 1 million units a year.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Voluntary Import Restriction Act. Anyways, so the Japanese said, "Oh, of course, our dear friends." Meanwhile, they went back. They said, "Okay, screw them. If they're going to force us to only sell this many cars, we're going to make a profit. So instead of selling $10,000 Hondas, we're going to sell a $30,000 Honda." You know. And by the way, we're going to destroy Cadillac and Lincoln in the process.
Yep.
And they did. And Lexus was super successful out the gate, continues to be very successful. It worked as a brand. Only in the US. Lexus means nothing to the rest of the world. Infiniti kind of came out of the gate strong, but not really. Acura came out pretty strong, but they were like the BMW competitor.
Yeah.
And then now I think it's a burden for them. Like I don't think Infiniti really wants to be... just the appetite at Nissan to make a luxury car isn't there. It's kind of like a burden. Like, we have to do this. Kind of like how Lincoln was to Ford for decades. And now Lincoln, they figured it out. They're like, SUVs, and we'll make them gorgeous and we'll make them premium.
Yeah.
But they couldn't do sedans for decades. They couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. So I feel strongly that Acura has like totally lost their way. They're just wandering around in the dark.
I agree.
Don't know what's
that was going to
happening.
be my choice.
Yeah. They don't know. That's actually a better choice than Infiniti, or a similar choice. But they're just the same way with Infiniti. Infiniti has great designers, which Acura doesn't have. They're okay designers, but like Infiniti has some really good design. But like, maybe they're just a coach building company. Maybe they should take more Mercedes chassis like the GLA and coat them with gorgeous skin like the QX30. Maybe that's the way forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you think that we should discuss in terms of whiskeys and a comparison to cars? You got a good one?
Oh, gosh, no. I don't have anything. Give me, what else do we have on the list?
Well, we talked about Evan Williams. We've got Blanton's, Buffalo Trace we talked about. Maker's Mark.
Blanton's is interesting. We could do Blanton's.
Let's do Blanton's.
And Blanton's, the car that started it all. So, Blanton's was the first premium whiskey. First premium bourbon, I should say. So, bourbon... hard to say how it was before Prohibition, but it was just what Americans drank.
Right.
That's just what you drank. And actually, bourbon
just cheap hooch
wasn't necessarily cheap. It's just that's what we
hooch.
made. Like rum came from the Caribbean.
Right.
Irish whiskey, which was much bigger than Scotch for a long time, was what they drank in like England. Just Americans drank bourbon. Just how it was.
Yep.
Prohibition, things changed, and then in the 50s. Bourbon kind of was starting to have a resurgence, and then for whatever reason, like martinis and clear liquid really took off, and bourbon kind of just became seen as this old stodgy thing. And if you look at like the marketings, it's like Evan Williams, Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, Old Forester, Old Crow, old.
Right. Yeah.
And just young people are like, why the hell do I want to drink Old Granddad? And then luckily, I think people actually said, hey, this is pretty good. So there's been this wonderful resurgence of bourbon. And it started with Blanton's. It was the first, premium bourbon. Now, what's the car? I'll ask you a question. What's the car that started it all? Meaning, we'll say the modern car that made people love cars.
That's a really tough one.
Yeah, I have an idea.
You know what? I can't really. I'm thinking BMW.
I'm thinking BMW too. But I'm thinking 3 Series.
Yeah, 3 Series would probably. Yeah,
E30, E36 even.
Yeah. Because it was a driver's car. It was great for the time. It was
you could even go back
time.
Yeah, and you can go back to the 2002. There was a famous article. Famous if you're a car nerd. David E. Davis, the dean of American automotive journalism. Rest in peace, sir. He wrote about the BMW 2002, where you just never heard praise for a car like that. Kind of like how I was going off about the Alpine. It was just totally different. You had this small little thing that was fantastic to drive, and it just changed things. And then shortly after that, Bob Lutz came up with the ultimate driving machine, and BMW, they made 3 cars for 100 years, and they were the 3, the 5, and the 7, same sausage, different length, front engine, rear drive, you get a manual on anything, light enough, and they were just inherently great to drive, and that's what they were focusing on. And then they switched at some point. I don't know if if you remember this, and anyone listening remembers, but they actually dropped Ultimate Driving Machine for a year.
For a year?
They changed it to Joy.
Huh. I don't remember that.
That was their tagline, their motto, mission statement, whatever. It was BMW Joy. And
that's good. They changed it back. That's terrible.
Ultimate Driving Machine. You couldn't get a better tagline for a car.
No.
Yeah. And even Lexus says the relentless pursuit of perfection.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit, I don't know, complex.
It's complex and it's kind of vague. For a car company, it's kind of vague.
Kind of vague. It's a little like, really, you're going for perfection,
Sure.
And by the way, shouldn't there be a German pursuit? Anyways, but Ultimate Driving Machine and Joy. And so Joy was like when they were doing stuff like the 5 Series GT, that like hunchback, Humpty Dumpty. And
that makes sense.
And they're just sort of chasing volume, and suddenly they were like, well, we're doing this X5, let's do an X6. And which turned out was brilliant on their part. That actually turns out there was a market for that. Who knew? But they started really chasing volume. And it's like, well, what if you want to sell cars to people that don't consider themselves in need of the ultimate driving machine? They just want a nice car. Mm-hmm. Joy. Everyone likes joy, So anyways, yeah. So I think you go back to that 2002. That's a little obscure. So like E30, not E21, but E30, E36, E46. Those cars are like still good to drive.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Blanton's is still good to drink.
All right. I'm glad we agree.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do one curveball and then we'll wrap it up with that.
All right.
So we've talked about Pappy. Well, we haven't talked about it, but we kind of, if it was mentioned.
You have to, because that's the only thing people know out of all these weird things I'm saying. Like, Willett C14A. They're like, what, dude? Right. But Pappy, everyone knows Pappy Van Winkle. They know that that's like, if you get a job promotion, get the guy a bottle of that. And they know that it's like, that's the $50 glass. Actually, now it's probably like $200 a glass or something that, if you get drunk enough, you'll order it. And then you got to pretend you really like it because you paid $200 for a glass of it. Yeah.
So we'll talk about Pappy as a brand, because Pappy as a brand has this, for some strange reason, this aura around them, to the point where what was that movie with Ryan Gosling where he's drinking old fashions with Pappy?
Oh God, I have no idea.
That was fucking hilarious, by the way.
What was it?
I don't know. It's some like romantic comedy with that one ginger, Emma Ginger.
The La La Land?
No. I call her the Ginger Emma because she's
Emma Stone?
Emma Stone. Is it?
Yeah, well, she's a redhead.
The redhead.
Yeah.
Ginger Emma.
Ginger, yeah.
Okay. That one. She was in that movie, and when what's the other guy? The guy from 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Steve Carell?
Yeah. So
Ryan Gosling, Steve Carell, and Emma Stone.
Yeah. So there's this whole thing where Steve Carell and his wife are having problems, and they're going to go through a divorce, and then Emma Stone meets Ryan Gosling in a bar, and he's
I know that movie.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called. It has a terrible name.
Sure.
It's like Instincts or something.
Some crap like that. But he's drinking. I thought the funniest part about that entire movie was the fact that he was drinking old fashions with Pappy.
Right.
And that's when I first heard of Pappy. And that's when I started researching.
Brilliant marketing.
Pappy. Yeah. Brilliant marketing. So I think that Pappy, for the most part, is really great marketing. Mm-hmm. The whole story of how the truck or something like that was hijacked, or they lost a bunch of barrels.
They got Colonel Sanders smoking a stogie on the label. I mean, that looks like bourbon.
Right.
That's Kentucky. It's called Pappy Van Winkle.
Right.
What a name.
We don't have to have a particular model. We can have the actual brand associate with that. What do you think is overrated and has maybe like one or two really good products, but for the most part is just
Oh, that's a tough one. Let me think. Problem is, most modern cars are pretty good. That's the issue. And Pappy is okay. It's the reputation is marketing driven, not taste driven. Like I said,
right.
If I believe, I'm not, obviously no proof of this, but I believe if I took 10 people that were interested in bourbon and I gave them a glass of Pappy 15, a glass of Pappy 20, and a glass of Pappy 23, they 9 of the 10 would like the 15-year better because it tastes better. It's bottled at 107 proof instead of 90 proof. So they're really watering down the 20 and the 23, which is crazy to me. Why are they doing that? To sell more of it.
Of course.
Yeah. Boy. So there's like one good product. I mean, you could argue like Infinity, there's somewhere in that brand, there's still like a good product that exists. You could say like, I'm trying to think here. I don't have to pick on Nissan, but like the GTR is actually really good, and that's kind of it. That's a tough one. Lincoln, Lincoln. I mean, the Navigator is incredible. I think all their stuff going forward is going to be pretty good, but really, it's just the Navigator's keeping that brand relevant in my mind.
Got it.
It's probably my phone. Yeah, that's my phone. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I have it on the chair, so it's not vibrating as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But those never had like stellar, incredible reputation. So it has to be something that has a fantastic reputation and isn't that good. I don't know. I'm stumped.
I got something for you.
All right, do it.
What about BMW during that joy period?
During that period, they were very highly regarded, but BMW's never really been super premium. You think about like their Halo products, right? M1, it was around for a couple years in a weird time. There never really was a Halo. 8 Series, it was like the car Gordon Gekko drove. An i8, they never really had like the. I don't. That's a tough one. You know,
it is a tough one.
Yeah. Lotus.
Okay.
Yeah. People, I think, feel that they're expected to say Lotus is terrific. They're kind of crap. And the Evora,
built like absolute garbage.
Well, they're built like garbage, but also like the Evora is one of those bizarre cars that is mid-engine and has entry understeer and exit oversteer, which is totally bizarre.
Entry understeer.
Wait. It's entry oversteer and exit understeer. Sorry.
Okay.
Which is totally bizarre. The Evora is like just never has been right. I think the Brits, they're like, if due to like national pride reasons or something, are obligated to say that Lotuses are great. They're really not that great. They really aren't that good. It's a Camry motor. I don't care if they change the cams. It's a Camry motor. The transmission feels like it's made of old nautical rope. Yeah, they're light at the sacrifice of everything else. They're just not that good. So
I've never driven an Evora, but I have driven an Elise.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
It's not. That's the thing. It's just not. Like, yeah, I guess on a track and just one situation where there's no dampness at all and everything's totally smooth.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about a faster car passing you. Maybe its lease is okay, but really it's not.
It's a very British thing. It's like the circumstances or everything has to be absolutely perfect in order for you to enjoy this experience the way that we designed this experience for you to.
And look, there's great British cars. Like, you know, I'd say like the Caterham, I just drove the 620S is like fabulous, you know, and that. Why buy a Lotus when you get a real lightweight? It weighs 1,000 pounds less than an Elise. It's just as uncomfortable, but it's actually brilliant, you know?
Well, it's based on the Lotus 7, isn't it?
I mean, the design goes back to the 57 Lotus 7, but I mean, it doesn't share a component. Yeah. Those are brilliant cars.
Got it. Well, also, we don't have those here, do we?
You can get Caterhams in as like kit cars.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can get the ultralights, and you can get them in. I don't know about that 620. I don't think that motor would work, but you can. That's the other thing. You don't need a 300 horsepower Lotus 7. You need like 125 horsepower. We'll give you the power to weight ratio of like name a nice car. The 620 with the 300 horsepower has power to weight of a Veyron. It's freaking nuts. You know, 300 horsepower, 1,200 pounds. You know, a Veyron is 1,000 horsepower. 4,400 pounds.
Right. But a Veyron has airbags.
Yeah.
And the Caterham.
It has a windshield, things like that. Yeah, this doesn't have that. Doors doesn't have that. Yeah, nothing. It has nothing. But they're wonderful.
Hey.
That's a pure car. So anyways, Pappy is a Lotus.
Got it. Okay. And on that not so big bombshell.
Right.
I guess we could end it there. So,
all right, cool.
I want to thank you for coming back and sitting down with me a year.
Course.
Actually, the first episode aired on the 1st of April.
Did it?
And yours aired shortly thereafter. I think it was like a 2-day window between the first one and the second one.
Okay.
We're not going to wait that long.
Okay.
And this one is going to be totally different. Because this is just a celebration. So no fancy schmancy music, no transitions.
Okay.
No killdozer.
Well, I got a lot of compliments from that last one.
Cool.
Yeah, a lot of people, because what they liked about it, just to give you some feedback, they said that it was like every time I go on like Farrah's show, Smoking Tire, we're just like two buddies talking, and this one, like, you actually interviewed me, and they learned things about me they didn't know, and so people like that.
Awesome.
So so it's good. I don't know if I don't know. We'll see how people feel about this one.
Well, I'm sure they're going to feel great because this was a good show. I enjoyed it.
Good.
And if they don't enjoy it, then there's probably something wrong with them.
Yeah, right, exactly.
If you have
nothing nice to say, don't say anything.
Well, that doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
I know.
I'm probably one of those people, actually. Kind of a dick, but it's okay. But with that being said, what we'll do is this is going to be, maybe we'll make this a tradition every year.
Okay.
For as long as I do the show, we'll reconvene every year.
Sure.
And do just one of these banter episodes. All right. So, Mr. Jonny Lieberman, we didn't do the hi there this time because we did it the first episode.
That's true.
So you can do it if you want.
Hi there.
Okay, we did it.
With my voice, I don't even sound like myself right now, so
it's okay. I'll auto-tune it.
Right.
I'll YouTube how to auto-tune.
That's right. Me and Katy Perry.
That's right.
Yeah, tune us right.
So thank you so much for coming back.
Come on, my pleasure.
That's hugely appreciated. It's always fun to sit down and shoot the shit with you.
Yeah.
And plug, please.
Well, the only thing I really have to plug right now is my Instagram account. You should definitely go to Instagram. I am Jonny Lieberman, and follow me because the way the world works now, I need more followers. It gets me to do more stuff. And then also, of course, watch Head to Head on Motor Trend. You got to download the app and pay for it, but it's really good stuff. I'm telling you,
it's $4.99.
It's not much.
It's $5.
Or as I tell people, like, sign up, watch it, cancel. I don't care.
Right.
Yeah.
You spend that much money on a cup of coffee.
You do.
Probably every day.
I spent $4.50 today on a cup of coffee, but I also got like a croissant. So I think it was like $9.83. Yeah. That was just one day.
That's one.
Yeah. You can watch all this cool programming. We have a lot of cool stuff.
Roadkill.
Oh, man. Dirt Every Day. We got Engine Masters. We got Hot Rod Garage. Junkyard Gold. Coming back, the best show. No one's ever seen it, but if you
that was great. I was kind of sad that it was just kind of tapered off.
It's coming back. Now it's called Roadkill's Junkyard Gold because what they're doing is they wanted to call everything Roadkill. B, Steve Magnante, who's the most interesting car man alive, is going to go to excuse me. Steve Magnante is going to go to junkyards, find old beaters that Roadkill could then pull out and resuscitate.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's going to be like a tie-in.
Awesome.
And Steve's just, if you watch Barrett Jackson, you know Steve. He's the guy that knows everything there is to know about cars made from 1962 to 1981 and nothing about anything made before or after. But literally, he's like, oh yeah, well, the fifth number of the Mustang's VIN is a K. That means it came with a 289 from the Cleveland plant. It's like, what? But he literally knows that off the top of his head. It's beyond an encyclopedia because encyclopedias don't have that much detail.
Sure.
Yeah. They really don't.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to hear that he's coming back. That was a great show.
Yeah. So Junkyard Gold. Junkyard Gold.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Then we've got that plug. Once again,
plug.
Jonny Lieberman, thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
See you next year.
Okay.
All right.
Cheers.